Hey everybody, it's Aldo Gandhi, and I just want to let you know really quickly that our swag shop is reopened. DeepDishTees.com is where you go, and that's tees with T-E-E-S. Clever name, guys. They're the new home of our merchandise. You can get t-shirts, you can get caps, you can get coffee mugs, you can get hoodies, you can get all sorts of good stuff, and you'll help out the bar room with the purchase. So head over to DeepDishTees.com.
Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Every summer in Chicago, the sunshine spotlights the city's spectacular skyline. Its luxurious lakeshore, marvelous monuments, and the over 200 neighborhoods in the city. And it also brings to light two of the greatest sports franchises in the world. On the north side, it's the Cubs. On the south side, it's the White Sox. This is Crosstown Crosstalk.
Hello and welcome to episode number 15 of Crosstown Crosstalk, presented by the Barroom Network. My name is Vinny.
And I'm Joey.
And Joseph. Some interesting baseball being played around town these days, huh?
Oh, yeah. Especially in the state of Iowa.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. But how's your week been going?
It's been going good. Kind of getting back on track. We had a fun weekend that consisted of White Sox, Yankees all around for both of us. And we went to Wrigley. Paid a nice visit to Wrigley. So that was
fun. Were the Cubs playing?
They weren't. They were not. Well, they were playing. They put on a show over in
Miami.
Miami. That's where they were on Sunday. But yeah, it was fun at Wrigley, I must say.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. But I kind of wanted to get going right off the bat here. The first thing we talked about on last week's show was the movie Field of Dreams. Kevin Costner, Ray Liotta, James Earl Jones. Great stuff. I mean, we had a long, good conversation about the movie, the plot, all that. The reason we did that was because of the highly anticipated Field of Dreams game. And the game turned out to be a better movie than the movie Field of Dreams. It literally was like something that a Hollywood director or scriptwriter would come up with. And I don't know, man. It was one of the... First, I'll start off by asking you this. Was it the greatest regular season White Sox game of all time?
It might have been the greatest regular season baseball game I've ever sat down and watched 1 to 9 innings. It was, I'm pretty sure I will remember that game for the rest of my life.
How many days do you think every human being has that they remember every minute of it for the rest of their life? I would say there's about 30 to 50 days that every human remembers every single minute of all day.
Yeah, around there.
And for me, that day was one of them. Just recording the show that day. I'll never forget how we, went over it beforehand, and then the way the game went. It was just unbelievable. So I'll recap it real quick before we discuss the actual baseball portion of it. Early in the game, the White Sox dominated. They got home runs from Jose Abreu, Eloy Jimenez, and Sebi Zavala. And they looked like they were cruising to a pretty dominant win over the New York Yankees. Lancelin had a pretty good performance on the mound. Michael Kopech was his normal dominant self. And then things got a little hairy late in the game. Liam Hendricks came in, and he gave up a home run to Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. And the Yankees took an 8-7 lead. And it's two guys who come up to bat that you really don't want to see up to bat in those situations because it's all or nothing. Like, those guys can hit bombs, and they both did. There's a reason they're both in a commercial about hitting home runs together. And
talking about the Little League commercial?
Yeah. And then the White Sox were in trouble, man. And then early in the bottom of the ninth, Danny Mendick grounds out. It's like, this game's over. They got one out in the bottom of the ninth. And then Sebi Zavala had one of the most magical at-bats I've ever seen someone have that didn't result in a home run. And he was down 0-2 in the count. Fouled off a couple pitches, stayed alive, drew 4 balls, and walked to first base for Tim Anderson, who blasted one into the corn stalks to give the White Sox a 9-8 victory at the Field of Dreams. Your thoughts?
It honestly was it was magical. That's really the only word to describe it. When he swung that bat and you just saw that bat drop, literally like he dropped the bat on his follow through of the swing. He knew it was gone. After that, we all knew it was gone. And his celebration, the fact that this guy isn't really like, if you ask like your average, baseball follower, like, okay, who's the face of baseball? Some of the first names you hear, especially like in the past 4 years or so, Mike Trout is one of them. Nowadays we got Fernando Tatis, Vlad Guerrero, Shohei Ohtani. Tim Anderson's name needs to be said when you're talking about the face of baseball. He is up there with all those guys I just named. Mookie Betts. Literally the list goes on. Tim Anderson's name has to be there. He is that electric. He is that different. He's that much of a difference maker, especially.
I couldn't agree more, because like there are a lot of difference makers, but it's hard to be a difference maker and like a face of baseball kind of guy. And like you said, Fernando Tatis Jr., Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Shohei Ohtani, Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge. I need Tim Anderson mentioned in those names, in that list of names with those guys, because of things he does. It always seems like he rises to the occasion. Like, people don't realize his playoff numbers last year. He had more hits in that first round against the A's than some teams. So he just always seems to, when they need it most, be there for them. And I'm with you. I'm not going to go. I don't know about the greatest regular season baseball game of all time. There's so many to choose from. I'm sure fans of other teams from other markets would like to argue with us on that. But in terms of the White Sox, I mean, like, what's its competition? Mark Burley's perfect game, especially the fact that in that game, Dwayne Wise had to like make a crazy athletic play in order to get the job done. I'm trying to think. There's the game 163 against the Minnesota Twins, the blackout. Jim Tomei hit a home run. Brian Anderson or Ken Griffey Jr. had a throw out at the plate to keep the game 1-0 Sox. Like, that's it was the blackout game for those who remember it by that. That's really like where it starts. Jim Tomei's 500th home run.
All those games are, up there. They're some of the best regular season, especially obviously in terms of the White Sox. This game was up there for me for different reasons. It wasn't a big like once in a lifetime thing with like a perfect game or a walk off, or it was a walk off, but you get what I mean, like not a milestone home run or anything. Pretty much a milestone game. It was so special to me because growing up with the Field of Dreams, that intro, them walking out of the corn, was the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. The fact that it was White Sox versus Yankees, if it was versus any other team, probably wouldn't have been this cool to me. And the fact that they won it in, essentially the Yankees came back, took the lead, and then the White Sox the next inning win it in comeback fashion. I guess you can call it comeback fashion, but I'm honestly like, there's not a better guy that could have walked it off other than Tim Anderson. Here's that intro of them walking out. It gave everyone goosebumps. You kind of had a feeling they were going to do something like that, but seeing it with the music playing, it literally made the hairs on your arm stand up. In terms of the Yankees and what you talked about with them, Aaron Judge, there's nothing really bad to say about him. He crushed the ball. It was his second home run of the game. Mike Stanton, I said it on our show last week that he would go 0 for 3 at least with 2 strikeouts. I think he had 2 strikeouts in the game, right?
Yeah.
And he was coming up, when he came up to bat to take the lead, or I think it was the lead home run. He was 0 for 4, so he was looking to go 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. And I literally said to you as we were watching, I was like, "This is it, 0 for 5." And boy, did he make me pay! I felt so small when he hit the ball, and it just crushed it. But for some reason, after that moment, I never really got that feeling like the Sox just lost. I just didn't feel that way. I'm not saying I thought they were still going to win in the 9th, but I just didn't. I wasn't as bummed. Like, the game was amazing regardless, and the fact that they still came out and won the game in walk-off fashion was magical. So
I think a lot can be said about it when you think about the stat on the bottom of the screen. The highest rated Major League Baseball game since 2005. People were interested in this stuff. And I kind of think they're making a mistake with how they're handling the Field of Dreams game next year, because the rebuilding Chicago Cubs are going to face a bubble team, Cincinnati Reds. And I get the sentiment of giving the Cubs the game because it's about making money, and the Reds were the team that the White Sox lost the World Series to on purpose, thus creating the Field of Dreams movie. But it just kind of feels like it should be the White Sox thing. Like I think of Thanksgiving, where it's like the Lions and the Cowboys. They always host a team. Like something like that. I don't know. It feels strange to me to have somebody else play there, and it's just not going to be the same going forward.
Yeah. What I would love to see, I mean, the Field of Dreams thing, I love it. So it's going to be sick. It's not going to be as, magical as it was the first time, but I would kind of like to see them branch out and do other related things. It doesn't necessarily have to be Field of Dreams. It could be another field of some kind. I mean, there's a million baseball reference things you can do. I'm sure they could even put something together over at like the Sandlot field or something like that and have that movie, but I don't know. You're right. It's definitely not going to be the same, especially because the Cubs are going to fucking stink. But we got it this year, and it truly was a show.
Did you get a little annoyed that even in the Field of Dreams game, the umpire tried to make it about himself
With
Michael Kopech?
With that non-call low strike?
It was clearly a strike. And
Yeah.
Michael Kopech doesn't really get amped like that too often. But it's the Field of Dreams, like high intensity. Like it just annoyed the crap out of me. I hate umpires.
I mean, yeah. I mean, to them, they're doing their best. And I did like, and we kind of debated about this, I did like that they didn't show the batter's box on television. I don't know if that was a Fox thing or what, but I didn't mind it. It took away that aspect of like, okay, just getting mad every time it's a bad call. Like, okay, we're back to normal where we can just let the judgment call the game, because who knows, maybe it did miss the corner, we don't know.
No, we saw on Twitter that it was a strike.
Yeah. The one after, though, I think Craig threw a pitch similar, and that one was definitely low.
Yeah, I agree. Robot umpires, I'm done with them.
I don't know. I honestly don't know where I stand on that. It will happen, so I guess I kind of just might as well jump on it because it's inevitable, I feel. But I don't know.
Do you think that game could lead to like some sort of movie script or something? Like, I don't know if you would say Field of Dreams 2, but like it literally felt to me bigger than baseball.
Yeah, I don't know if it would lead to anything. I think
they are making, I don't know if you heard this, they are making a television show about the Field of Dreams.
Really?
It's going to be like, I don't know if it's going to be like the movie, but in episode TV format, but it's definitely a thing that's coming.
I mean, I'll be watching it, whatever it is. So I don't know if that game specifically can lead to anything, though.
No. I do think like the way that it started with Ray Kinsella walking onto the field and then the players walking in behind him with that crazy awesome music playing, and then right after they start this game and the White Sox dominate almost all of it, and then at the end the Yankees come back and take the lead, and then the White Sox, the team hosting it, the team that's like mostly involved, is the one that ends up winning in like a dramatic fashion. And you know, they're saying like a movie, and I just loved it so much. I remember when it happened, I stood up on the couch, screamed, and then when I finally got to my feet on the ground, I started bawling.
Yeah.
Because I wanted the White Sox to win that game so bad. I wanted it. I'm not going to say I'd rather that than like a long, crazy postseason run, because obviously I'd rather that. But like beating the Yankees, the New York Yankees, the team like most people don't like, on a stage like that was just, it was something I'll never forget.
Yeah, I agree. And Santiago says the Cubs and Reds should play in the Sandlot used in the movie Wildcats. So, I mean, something like that would be pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of different like movie suggestions. One of them I saw that was cool was like recreating the backyard baseball field. What do you think about that?
That would be pretty cool. I would almost have to involve the Yankees again, right? Wasn't like was it A-Rod who was like the star of that game?
A-Rod was in it. I'm pretty sure Pujols is the only active player from that game left.
Really? Didn't they have a made up character too who just like was the best?
Yeah, Pablo.
What was that? Was that his
Pablo
name?
Sanchez.
Pablo Sanchez? I
Sanchez.
remember a lot of jokes about that. Or what about like the movie The Sandlot? And having like the Dodgers involved of some kind.
Yeah, I don't know the optics of that though. I don't know if there's a place around like near that field that can be turned into a major league stadium.
Yeah, or just recreate a Sandlot with like the green fence and houses in the backyard. Like that would be sick.
What is it with movies that make James Earl Jones look mean in the beginning, but then a super, super nice man by the end of the movie? What is it about baseball movies with that plot?
Not even baseball movies. Like look at Star Wars.
James Earl Jones in general?
He's mean in the beginning, but
He's the most evil character in the history of cinema.
But at the end of the day, he tells his son, "Take off my mask." James Earl Jones, good guy. Darth Vader, good guy.
And he tells Luke, "Tell your sister I was right."
Yeah.
So James Earl Jones, good people. It was crazy to me. They got him to do like a voiceover intro.
Yeah, I really wish he could have been there. If he was there, I know he's old. He's like 90 years old. Yeah. But if he was there, that would have been awesome.
I think. What did you think of the field?
I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I thought they honestly did an amazing job. There's really nothing I can say that would have been better. I'm happy they didn't kind of like, I don't want to say destroy, but I'm happy they didn't touch the original field and it's just kind of on the other side.
You have to like get to the major league field, like through the cornfield, don't you?
Yeah, or you have to walk around the maze or something, or go through the maze maybe. I'm happy they didn't touch that, and the lights were on that field, and kids were playing. That's what that field's all about, is just people showing up and playing baseball. So it's cool that there's two fields now. If the one that they just built is going to stay for next year, I'd imagine it will, and I honestly think it looks even more magical than it ever did.
Yeah, and my favorite part about it was a little weird seeing like a chain fence in the back, but I think they wanted it to look like every home run. Like they wanted it to look like there was no fence and just corn, like the movie. Obviously, there's got to be a fence to make it a Major League Baseball like regulation field, because if there's no fence, then if it goes in the corn but doesn't go over the top of it, then is that really a home run or a ground rule double? Like, I understand why, but the way it looked with the bullpens being in the corn too, and all the players sitting out there in their old uniforms, it was just really cool.
That's another thing. It was one of the best dressed games I've ever seen. Those White Sox jerseys, I love them so much. That, and the fact that they gave those away, that's probably the best quality giveaway I've ever seen. Those jerseys are nice. That logo is patched on.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to show the back of yours, but the fact that you were able to do that was amazing. Like you can put a number on it.
Life hack for those of you who don't know. You can pay $40 at Guaranteed Rate Field. I can't tell you exactly what section it's in, but it's right in one of the gates. The gate, there's the Shy Sox Bar and Grill. That gate, right when you enter the 100 level from that part, there's a little section there that you can get names and numbers stitched. And I paid $40 to have 7 put on this because Tim Anderson hit the walk-off. I kind of regretted getting 7 because I am going to buy a Field of Dreams jersey still, this old throwback. I still want to buy one.
If they ever even like sell them.
They're at Guaranteed Rate Field. They're just sold out before you make your way to the store.
Really?
You have to be like first in line, and yeah, they're there.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. It's kind of, there was the same deal with the South Side jerseys early in the season. Now you can pick them up, but like now I just might get Michael Kopech or someone else.
Or my guy Craig Kimbrell showed up in that game.
Yeah, I want someone who's involved in the game for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got a number of picks then, because honestly, it was a team effort from the Chicago White Sox.
If someone got a Zavala jersey, it wouldn't even slightly surprise me.
This is definitely going to be my wallpaper for.
It turned off.
Yeah, I know. Should have just pulled out that picture of Craig Kimbrell is honestly one of my new favorite things.
Yeah, for sure. I like that we're giving this game its due because of how special it was, and you know, I can't get over how it ended, and the White Sox looked perfect. Lancelin would be a good person to get. He didn't have his like dominant give up 2 runs or less Lancelin performance. Not a lot of people realize this. That was only the second time this season he's given up more than 3 runs.
It was against a hot Yankees team too.
They're hot. They haven't lost since losing that game now.
Yeah, well, I know. They passed up my Bo Sox.
Yeah. Hopefully our White Sox can come back and win this game that they're currently playing right now. They're down 2-1. And if they do that, the Red Sox will then claim sole possession of that spot. We're waiting for our special guest to show up. We're actually going to talk about the Red Sox quite a bit. But while we wait for that, do you have any last minute thoughts on the Field of Dreams game? I mean,
it'll be hard to see something better. It's definitely the highlight of my season. It will be. And like I said, Tim Anderson needs to be looked at as one of the up and coming like current faces of baseball. When you mention the top players, I want it to be Tim Anderson, Fernando Tatis, Vlad Guerrero, Ronald Acuna, all those guys, and Tim Anderson's name needs to be up there with them.
He's the face of the White Sox, in your opinion?
Yeah, he's the leader. I know you got Abreu
he's
too.
Not the best player on the White Sox.
I don't know. I'm not saying that, but he is just he's just got a good attitude. He's there. His position helps him in terms of a leader on the field. He's your leadoff guy. There's not much more you can say. And like you said, he's clutch.
He's clutch, and he always seems to come up big in like big moments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the playoffs, the Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
I also give him a lot of credit for starting the White Sox as you know them now, because he was kind of like their one young, good player that they had when they started the rebuild. Abreu was a good player. I wouldn't classify him as young. Him sticking around through the rebuild is a little surprising.
Yeah, he's the veteran guy now.
If they would have traded him, though, I wouldn't have been surprised. I think that would have ended up making the rebuild take just a little bit longer. But like Tim Anderson was that guy.
Yeah. Santiago wants to know if we think the Sox and Cubs should be in the Field of Dreams. It would be cool for Chicago fans who are fans of the Crosstown Classic, but I don't know. In terms of the whole MLB's interest, I don't know if that would necessarily be the best thing.
I do.
You do?
Yeah. I think like they had it as a marquee event with the Yankees and the White Sox, and like those are the two teams like mostly involved in the Field of Dreams. But White Sox Cubs, it was Sunday Night Baseball when they played each other. I don't know if it's going to be again this time around. I don't know if ESPN wants to submit their fans to another 11-0 baseball game like they did 2 weeks ago. But I mean, I'm not sure the Cubs are going to be as bad next year as they are right now. Their record might be worse, but their record will be inflated this year based on how well they played early this season and before trading everyone away. Like if they would have started this season with the roster they currently have, they'd be in last place in the NL Central.
Probably really win 50 games.
They've lost 12 of their last 14 games, and they still have a 10-game lead over the Pittsburgh Pirates for last place.
Yeah.
So they were awesome in May.
I might take advantage of them being bad because I really, really want to see a game at Wrigley this year. I know you did. You went and saw a crosstown game. I haven't seen a baseball game at Wrigley in years, and I really want to, especially after this weekend we had we went to Wrigley. We saw an amazing concert there, Weezer, Fall Out Boy, and Green Day.
The Hella Mega Tour.
Hella Mega Tour. It was probably one of the best concerts I've ever seen in my life. And
Talk about it a little bit.
I've seen a lot of concerts. Like Green Day can put on a fucking show. I don't care if you don't like Green Day. You're going to go there. You're going to have a good time. And Fall Out Boy was right up there with him. Weezer, I love Weezer. A little boring. I'm not going to lie.
I agree. The songs I knew by Weezer were special, but outside of that, it's like it was early. It was only like 5:30 when they were playing. Like when Fall Out Boy came on, it started to get dark. They started to use a little more optics and stuff like that. So I enjoyed it. Wrigley Field. I've seen 2 concerts there now, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Transitioning, we have a very special guest, and we're going to get into a couple different teams that we don't talk about as much on this show. But I would like to welcome on from Fansided, Gabrielle Starr.
Hi, guys.
Very nice to see you. How are you?
Good. How are you guys? Sorry I'm a little late. I was doing another Fansided thing.
Oh, no worries at all. We could talk about the Field of Dreams for an hour straight, so easy to kill time doing that.
Yeah.
Did I miss the Field of Dreams talk? I love Field of Dreams talk.
We can get right back into it.
Yeah. What did you think of the game? Thanks for coming on, by the way. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too, Joey. It's really nice to meet you. I loved the game. I loved it. For starters, I love watching the Yankees lose. So there's nothing better than watching the Yankees lose and look very bad doing it in dramatic fashion with the Anderson walk-off. So that was great. My only thing about the game isn't actually so much about the game, but is the future of the game, which is that I really hope that MLB doesn't ruin the magic of the game by overdoing it, trying to overcapitalize on it, over monetize it. A friend of mine who works for the Orioles was saying how the magic of Field of Dreams and the magic of this game is something that could get lost if MLB just turns it into like a money-making scheme. And that's definitely my concern. And that obviously doesn't have anything to do with the current game that we just saw this year, but just games going forward, because I know they're going to keep doing them. But I loved it. I loved seeing all the players come out of the cornfields. I watched the movie again the night before. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, I was like, so are we all just watching this movie this week? I honestly wanted to watch it again when the game was over, because I was like, I'm in a cornfield kind of mood. A couple years ago, I actually wrote something about watching Field of Dreams because I had rewatched it and I felt like it was the first time I had watched it in like years at that point. And I had all these questions about just different things in the movie, and it's on girlatthegame.com if someone's interested. But my thought then was actually my thought after watching it, which was at the end of the movie, like the little girl is the one that suggests that they monetize Field of Dreams. Mm-hmm. And that always really bothered me because I feel like, her whole like people will come thing, like, yeah, it's a sweet thing to say, but then she's like, and we can charge them money. And you're like 6. Why are you thinking about profits? Why are you thinking about profits? She's like a baby Manfred. And that was what I wrote about then, just from watching the movie. And my sentiment is the same now, which is that when you have something really magical, the easiest way to ruin it is by trying to sell that magic, to bottle that, and kind of, it's kind of like Tuck Everlasting when the guy wants to sell the water that made them immortal and then they kill him. I'm not suggesting we murder anyone, obviously. I just don't want us to like ruin Field of Dreams. And MLB does tend to ruin things by trying to make money off of them. So that's my concern. Sorry to be a downer.
Oh, absolutely. And with bringing in the Cubs and the Reds next year, it's not like you're wrong. Because right. Also, why aren't you doing the Red Sox? Like, was your ballpark in the movie? I don't think so. I didn't even think of that. Red Sox, White Sox. Sox versus Sox.
I'd be all for that.
I love that idea. For those who don't know, Gabrielle, she works for Fansided. She is the founder of Girl at the Game, and she writes about the Red Sox and the Phillies for fansided.com. So we're going to talk about those two teams in a couple minutes. But yeah, I didn't even think about that. The Red Sox being in the Field of Dreams in Fenway Park, they were playing. Who are they? That's playing? Like a focal Red Sox. He road trips to go see them, and they both have the dream. She's like, "Is Fenway Park the one with the big green wall? Yeah. I had a dream that you were sitting at Fenway Park with Terrence Mann eating a hot dog," and you're like, "That's my ballpark."
If they never go to Fenway, they never find Moonlight Graham. Moonlight Graham never steps off the field as the doctor and never saves her from choking. So, like, honestly.
Literally, my ballpark is the entire focal turning point of the movie. Exactly. Hello.
It really is. Red Sox Twins. That's a good matchup.
Yeah, but I like the idea of the White Sox always being the hosting team, and I like them being the home team too, because the whole point is that it's originally the Black Sox.
Yeah.
And though I did so as the Phillies editor for Fansided, I actually learned something new, which is that the reason that the cheating investigation into the 1919 Black Sox was discovered or kind of instigated was because of a game between the Phillies and the Cubs. And so there's actually this whole Phillies and Philadelphia angle to it. So I would also be down for an interleague Phillies White Sox game, but I just always think that game should belong to the White Sox. Like, it's a White Sox movie. It's a little bit of Red Sox movie. Mm-hmm. And then it's like whoever the heck they want to have as the opponent. But that should just belong to the White Sox.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's kind of what Vinny said before. He said he would love to see the White Sox always host it. And we even got some Cub fans in the chat who agree that it shouldn't be any other team other than the White Sox and Yankees. So
absolutely. So, Gabrielle, you brought up the Red Sox. I think they're your number one team, right? Over the Phillies? Yeah, I knew that. You get a sense.
They're both very disappointing right now.
Well,
but yes.
That was my first question. Is what is happening with we'll call them our Boston Red Sox.
I don't know, Vinny.
Me and Joey,
I don't know.
Fun fact, you might not notice from my Twitter, but I tweet about them every now and then. Mm-hmm. They're my second favorite team. They always have been. And then the Chris Sale trade, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that solidified it. So what's going on?
You know, first of all, I just have to say, the cap and the jersey, gentlemen, phenomenal. Not right now, but I was wearing a vintage Red Sox shirt earlier. I collect, I scour eBay for vintage stuff. I don't want to give MLB current money, but I'll give eBay sellers money for old stuff. That's the key. There's really no logical explanation. Obviously, the pitching was always going to kind of regress a little bit. They were way better than they were supposed to be. That's not surprising to me. My issue is, where the hell did the bats go? Because for starters, they scored 20 runs last Thursday or Wednesday against the Rays. They haven't done that since 2015. Coincidentally, also Nelson Cruz and Mike Zunino were in that game, but it was when they were on the Mariners. So poor guys, 2 times they had to deal with that. I don't count sweeping the Orioles, and I was at 2 of those games. I don't count sweeping the Orioles as being good because they're the Orioles. They are basically a little league team, and that's no insult to Orioles fans or the franchise. Their team is bad. They're rebuilding. Cedric Mullins is awesome. I don't like being mean to the Orioles because they suffer enough, but it's actually true that they are one of the worst teams in baseball, have been for, this is the 4th season now that they've been this bad. Mm-hmm. That doesn't show me anything. What shows me something is when you lose 3 games to the Yankees, when you don't do anything offensively, when you get shut out, when your pitching gets lit up. Nick Pivetta last night, after he only lasted an inning and a third or 2/3 or something, was we're better than this. And I was well, actions speak louder than words. You're not better than this. You're playing absolute ass.
Yeah.
Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
No, it's I understand you're not going to come out there as a player and be we suck. But the thing is, actually, there are players on the team who will say that. Xander Bogaerts will call them on their shit. Chris Sale will lose his mind when they play terribly. I know, jerseys, scissors,
I don't want to wear that
out during the World Series, and that's what they need.
Absolutely. Do you think they rode the big 3 bats a little too much early on, and that kind of regressed to the mean a little bit, and that made the rest of the team suffer?
A little bit yes, a little bit no. I mean, Xander didn't hit his first home run of the season until the end of April. He was hitting really well, but he wasn't homering. He only hit his 19th home run this week.
JD started off insanely hot, right?
JD, yeah. I mean, JD's been up and down. The other thing with JD is he really loves playing the outfield. And for part of the season, that seemed to be helping him, but now it seems like it's hurting him because he's just really not a natural outfielder anymore. And so, yes, there have been games where it's oh my God, JD, and I'll make a joke about how he's a Gold Glove outfielder, but he's really not. And at this point in the season, players are tired, teams are tired, people are struggling, there's injuries, there's COVID, it's kind of enough with that. You're the DH, you're supposed to be the DH, you're paid to be a DH. I understand. And if you want to play once a week, but this whole keep sticking him in the outfield thing is starting to feel it's hurting him. He's been striking out a lot. So I mean, you never know.
So obviously they've been very inconsistent, but with all that being said over the past month or so, they're only 5 games back of the Rays.
Only.
Or 6 games back, 1 game back of the Yankees. I'm sorry. Do you think they can get back on track? There's a lot of time left.
I mean, I think that they'll be a wild card team. I don't think that they're going to win the division. And on the one hand, that's fine because they were never supposed to be very good this year. I thought they were going to be better than people were projecting them to be. And I said at the beginning of the season, like, I think they'll play in a wild card game. I never said that they would win a wild card game, but I said that they would play in one. So on the one hand, like, you know, if they make it to the wild card game, they are outperforming the very low expectations that were set for them. On the other hand, they reset their expectations this season because they were in first place for like 3+ months. And then they basically served it up to the Rays on a silver platter over the last month and like have completely fallen apart. And I'm like, if you set a standard for yourself, if you play really well, you know, barring a little bit of regression, especially by the pitching and some injuries, but they really haven't had that many injuries, thankfully, I'm going to hold you to the standard that you set. Like, this isn't me pulling something out of thin air. It's you're a first place team. You played like a first place team for months. It's not like they were in first place for a week and then they just punted it. It's like you were in first place from April until like June or July. You dropped it for a couple games, then you got it back and you were in it until like 2 weeks ago. So like, what the hell's going on? And, you know, you want to talk about the pitching, like the pitching is what it is, but where's the offense? That's my bigger concern. That's my bigger criticism. The pitching was never supposed to be very good, but your offense includes JD, Xander, Devers, now Hunter, Renfroe, Kike Hernandez, like Kevin Plawecki is weirdly really good offensively. Like, you have bats. So where the hell are they? That's the bigger issue for me.
Yeah, and you're allowed to like change your standards based on how the season goes. Like, just because they were projected, I actually had them as the top wild card team before the season, and they were better than I thought. And I'm like an optimistic, like, oh, they're my second favorite team. I'll put them in the wild card as my prediction. But like, the fact that they were so good for so long and they looked like a legit World Series contender, like when they played us, the White Sox, and we split 2-2 with them, and like one of them, Michael Kopech, had to make like a spot start, I was like, that team's good. They're going to be an issue later on, and now they're kind of like, eh.
It's baffling because that's the thing is if you are a bad team all year, I almost wish that you're a bad team all year. Because, like, I know what I'm getting. You know, if your expectations are low, you're rarely disappointed. That's, like, a sad way that I live a lot of my life in many aspects. Like, at least with the Orioles, you know what you're getting. And that doesn't make it fair and it doesn't make it right. But there's a lot less angst than, like, me allowing myself to hope that this team is going to have such a turnaround from last year, which was mercifully a short season, because I can't imagine watching that for 162 games, the product that they put out on the field. That was legitimately painful. Like, the number of games that I never used to be the kind of person that turned off the games. And now I am, because I'm like, you know what? You get one life and it's not worth wasting it on this kind of playing. But they gave me hope for months. And I wasn't even like, I want them to win the World Series. Like, I've seen 4 World Series in my life now, multiple postseason teams. I've lived in the David Ortiz era. Like, I don't need more of that in my life. Like, it'll be great. I wouldn't complain, obviously. But my thing is, I just want watchable baseball. I want watchable, enjoyable baseball where I can turn on the game and not know if my team is going to win or lose, but know that I'm going to see a competitive baseball game and an enjoyable baseball game. That's all I really want. For sure. And over the last month, I'm not getting that.
Yeah, you have
everyone deserves that.
We hope it turns around. We'll try and make it a little positive. Is there a Red Sox moment that sticks out as something you really enjoyed this season?
Oh, I mean, I was at Chris Sale's first game back on Saturday.
Very good.
I cried. It was very exciting. I also watched one of his rehab starts in Worcester for AAA, and that was really fun. And it was the highest selling game at the new ballpark that they've had all year. And the games have been really popular, but this was like, it was packed. Yeah. Seeing Chris Sale come back, and I'm sure you guys can relate, having, you know, had Chris Sale, was like a transcendent experience because he really, I mean, he hasn't even been here that long. Like his first season was 2017 and he was hurt for like, he didn't pitch at all last year. He missed months of 2019 at the end. Like his last game was like in mid-August. But Chris Sale is the kind of competitor that like every team wishes they had. He has that fire. He's like silent but deadly. He's just so, except when he's screaming. He's like such a fierce, awesome, like vicious player. And that fire, like Xander Bogaerts is a different kind of team leader. Like he's like kind of like the quiet, powerful, like, you know, players want to emulate him, like mentor kind of player. And I'm not saying that players don't want to emulate Chris Sale, but there's just a difference, kind of like Xander's never going to be the guy like screaming bloody murder in the dugout. Like that's just not his vibe. Yeah. And Chris Sale is vicious. Like Chris Sale is the leader you have that like kicks you in the pants. He's the guy that slashes up the jerseys. He's the guy that screams. And they haven't had that without him. And before him, it was David Ortiz, like smashing bullpen phones. Like the Red Sox need that because as unfair as it is to other teams, like there are just different standards in Boston. Like it is unacceptable to play like crap. It's unacceptable to look lifeless. Like over the last 20 years, that kind of play, like chicken and beer, Bobby Valentine, like, you know, not showing up to Johnny Pesky's funeral, all of that kind of stuff is unacceptable here. We just hold our team to a higher standard. And I wish that that was the same way for every single franchise, but I can't control that. I can't control other fans. I can just control what I see and what I know and, you know, how the standard I hold them to. And Sale just brings something different to this team. And having him back, like, he's pitching supposedly tomorrow against the Rangers, and that's important because they've played like crap against the Rangers this year, which again doesn't make any sense.
It never makes sense.
Chris Sale just brings something extra to this team.
Yeah, I'll never forget how fired up I got when he came in the World Series to close it out.
Oh my God.
So it's got to be kind of hopeful and exciting. If they are to make a wild card game, you have Chris Sale to start that game.
Yeah. I think the only thing that I would say about the Chris Sale thing is that there are a lot of people who are like, Chris Sale is coming back. He'll save us. And I think that that's super unfair and super unrealistic because for one thing, he only pitches once every 5 days, if that. They're being super careful with him. The other thing is he's one man. He doesn't hit. And he's coming back from one of the most invasive procedures. And they're going to handle him so carefully because he's under a really lucrative contract. They care about him as a player and a person. And you never want to see someone like have those setbacks the way that Luis Severino, for example, is having right now, also from Tommy John surgery. They're not going to risk Chris Sale. And if he plays anything less than perfect, a lot of people, because Red Sox fans are crazy, are going to be really upset about it. And I've already said, like, before his start, I was like, if I see one person say anything bad about Chris Sale, I'm going to lose my mind because this man came back from Tommy John. It's not his fault that the offense is gone. And there's only so much he can do. I mean, when he was striking out 17 batters in a game in 2019, he was still getting no decisions and losses because the lineup wasn't giving him run support. There's only so much he can do. Mm-hmm. And he's not the problem because he's only been here for one game and they won.
Yeah. He's going to make an impact. No, he'll make an impact in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
Our listener Santiago wants to know, what is the East Coast and really the Boston fans, because I'm a Boston fan myself. I don't know if you can tell by all the Bruins stuff I have around.
Hey, there it is.
Yeah.
You're probably more of a Bruins fan than I am.
What does the East Coast think of our Chicago White Sox? Do they look at them as like the real deal like we do?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but the White Sox are so good and they're so fun to watch. I was a little surprised by the La Russa hiring, but the White Sox as a team, from a player standpoint, they're amazing. And there's so much young talent there. And to be honest, I thought that you guys were going to steal Alex Cora before you hired La Russa. I thought he would have been a great fit for the White Sox. So many young players. He connects so well with his players and they love him.
I've heard it was down to us too. Like he really liked what the White Sox were doing, and there are a lot of Latino players there that he likes to connect to and relate to. So that would have been interesting for sure.
I think it would have been really cool to see him and Hinch, managing more against each other in the division, because obviously they both got hired pretty soon after their suspensions were lifted, and that would have been also a really good topic.
Yeah. One of the things I actually wanted to ask you is, the rehire of Alex Cora. What do you think of? What do you like and dislike about, what he does for the White Sox or the Red Sox?
There are a lot of great things about Alex Cora in terms of the way, like I said, the way that he connects to the fans. There was a huge disconnect between John Farrell and Cora in terms of the way that they were able to connect, or lack thereof, with the fans. Like, Farrell didn't speak Spanish, so players like Rafael Devers, who were called up during his final season, like, Farrell could not speak to him. And for starters, I think that every manager should speak Spanish in this day and age. You have so many Spanish speaking players. There's always going to be a disconnect if there's a third person involved who needs to communicate with your players. You need to be able to communicate with your players. And with Cora, you see it because he's so bonded with Devers, and he's really bonded with Bogarts, and the other players love him too. But that's specifically, like, your young stars. Like, in 2019, Xander and Devers had better seasons than they did in 2018, and they were both MVP finalists in like the top 5, I believe. I know Xander was the 5th top 5 player for the AL MVP.
Yeah.
You see that difference, and you also saw it in the LAC in 2020 when it was Ron Renicky filling in. On the other hand, there are a lot of decisions of Cora's I don't agree with, but I'm also not a manager. So I'm talking as a fan and a writer. But there's some pitching decisions, like where he'll pull a player because the analytics say so. When the players, like Tanner Houck, he pulled Tanner Houck the other day. He hadn't even thrown 60 pitches because the analytics say don't have him face the lineup the third time. This is a young guy who's supposed to be part of your starting rotation for the future. He's incredibly talented. He was pitching really effectively. And it was like a very Kevin Cash moment of pulling the guy before he could face the order the third time, even though the bullpen is not very good. Houck hadn't even issued a walk. Immediately, the bullpen comes in, walks like 3 or 4 batters, gives up like 4 or something runs. I turned it off. I couldn't watch. It was unbearable. But you're supposed to be building this guy up to be a major league starter. How are you going to do that if you don't ever let him face the third time through the lineup when your bullpen is not workable? Something like that. Or, in 2019 when he put Benintendi in the leadoff spot, and he announced it before the season even started. And I knew from the minute he announced it, I was like, that's not a good idea. Benintendi's too streaky. I understand logically that having someone pitch bat ahead of Mookie would have been smart, because then Mookie could be driving in a run instead of just getting on base. But you're not taking into account maybe Mookie won't be a good second hitter, which he struggled as the second hitter. Benintendi said he hit leadoff in college and didn't like it. So why are you putting a guy in a position where he doesn't feel comfortable? He's not going to succeed. It's not good for him. It's not good for the team. Cora let that go on until the last weekend in May before announcing that Mookie was going to go back to being the leadoff man. And by then they were like a bunch of games out of first. They didn't really recover from that. And it took Mookie a while to get comfortable being the leadoff hitter again. And Benintendi, that was the beginning of his end in Boston offensively. And then that turned into defensively, and that turned into base running. And now that he's with the Royals, he's playing much better. But that sucked because Cora leaned into a decision that really, that experiment should have been over 2 weeks into the season. So things like that, I get kind of frustrated because he'll kind of just stick with something, and he'll just stick with it and stick with it and stick with it. And again, I'm not a manager, so this is just my opinion as an outsider. But logically speaking, if something isn't working, beating it into the ground isn't going to make it better. In fact, it's probably going to make it worse. And we see that a lot with some of his decisions. On the whole, I think he's a good manager. But at the same time, in 2018, he came into an absolutely stacked team. He inherited absolute wealth. And now we're seeing what he can do as a manager who doesn't inherit, an incredible starting rotation. Craig Kimbrell in his prime, Mookie and Xander and Devers. Like he had so much to work with when he came in. And now he doesn't. And so now we're seeing, how does he handle adversity? Because, like, quite frankly, the same thing with John Farrell. People are like, well, John Farrell won a World Series. My grandmother could have managed the 2013 World Series team. It had David Ortiz hitting over 700, and they were trying to win it for a city that had just gotten bombed at the Boston Marathon. Like, that was fate intervening.
Yeah.
That was not John Farrell. I'm sorry. And you see that because the rest of the lineup during that postseason was hitting like 230. It was David Ortiz and God, honestly, and Shane Victorino hitting a grand slam.
Yeah, that series against Detroit was something I'll never forget.
Yeah,
Joey might remember we blew off fireworks like idiots.
I was so that might be the happiest I ever was watching base. Still to this day, like
didn't he hit a grand slam to like put them ahead or something?
David Ortiz grand slam. Yeah, David Ortiz when Torrey Hunter going over the wall, legs in the air, bullpen cop. Yeah.
And then didn't he tie it against the Cardinals in the World Series or something like that? He did something.
It's all, honestly, I was living in Israel during that season, and so I had to stay up every night. I didn't have to, but I, chose to stay up. I stayed up every night. The games would start around like midnight, 1 a.m. I was nocturnal for a full month. I literally would like stay up. So when they won the World Series, it was like 5, 6 in the morning. The sun was rising in my apartment. Koji threw that last out. I was like delirious, screaming, sobbing, woke everybody up. So it's kind of a blur, which things were happening specifically besides the Grand Slam, because who could forget the Grand Slam? But I mean, that was picture, like the best.
That picture of Koji jumping into, the pack.
Rossi's.
It's got to be one of the most. Yeah, that was David Ross.
That's
got to be
like
one of the most iconic Red Sox pictures of all time, I think.
That one, and it's that one, and it's the Keith Folk doing the same thing with Veritek, because they're very similar photos, especially the way that they're kind of the angle that the photographers chose was so majestic, and just so beautiful. And I actually got to meet David Ross in the summer of 2019 at Dodger Stadium. I ran into him in the press box, and I was so scared to go, even though I've heard he's the nicest guy, which he is. I was so nervous to go over and say hi, because I never want to bother anyone. And, I don't want to, like, they're people. So you don't want to make them feel weird. And also because I once cried in front of Dustin Pedroia. So I have no chill. But I finally worked up the courage, and I was like, I just went over and said hi. And I was like, I just wanted to tell you, like, the 2013 season meant so much to me as a person, as a Red Sox fan, but also as a person. And I just wanted to thank you for that, because you brought so much joy to our city. And he was so nice, and he gave me the biggest hug, and he was so kind to me. And then after the game, I was walking out, and he was walking out at the same time, and he waved to me, and he said, "Gabrielle, you made my night." And it was just the kindest, it was like the nicest, kindest thing that someone can do, because, a lot of players, like, they're not that nice to their fans.
Yeah.
And especially in Boston, I don't know what it's like with White Sox fans, but especially in Boston, like, all Red Sox fans want, no matter how good or bad a player is, I mean, to a certain extent, all Red Sox fans really want to know is that the players that they love and root for and support give even 2% as much of a crap about them and love them back even a little bit. Because, like, if you give it your all here and you show us love, like, Red Sox fans will, like, take a bullet for you. They will do anything for you. Like, my dad walked into the room when I was watching a Red Sox Dodgers game a few years ago and saw Dave Roberts on the screen and goes, "That man will never pay for a drink in Boston for the rest of his life." No. And he's right. Mm-hmm. Because when a player shows genuine affection for the fans here, Red Sox fans are like, "Oh, that one. That's the one right there." And that's why, like, they never gravitated to Pablo Sandoval. There's, like, Bobby Valentine, like, but David Ortiz, like, that man chose to stay here and took hometown discounts to be here every year of his career when he could have gotten more to go somewhere else. And that's why literally every person was like, if David Ortiz needs a kidney when he was, getting his surgery, they're like, we will get, like, David Ortiz. I don't know if you guys know this. This is my favorite thing that's ever happened. In 2013, the Boston mayoral election was going on, and David Ortiz finished third as a write-in candidate.
I did not know that.
So many people wrote that man in on their ballot, which, like, on the one hand is a major indictment of electoral situations in this country. But on the other hand, David Ortiz is so beloved in Boston. that he finished third as a write-in candidate to be the mayor of this city. And in a way, he kind of is the mayor of this city. And I just love that. It's like so ridiculous and so Boston, but I love it so much.
That is honestly hilarious. I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
It's the best thing ever.
Absolutely.
I'm so happy you brought up the 2013 team too, because honestly, I was very young for the 05 White Sox, and I loved the 18 Red Sox. I was young for the Red Sox World Series. Before that 2013 was the best thing I've ever seen. And I already told you about, I'm a huge diehard Boston Bruins fan. They had a magical run themselves. They came up just short, but the fact that the Red Sox were able to do it, it honestly, like, it meant so much to me. And I'm not even from the city. At that point in my life, I'd never even been to the city. So it truly was magical.
I hear you. 2004, I was 11, so I was old enough to like remember it and to enjoy it and to see what it meant to like my dad and my great uncle. My dad's dad's brother is 103 years old. He was born in September 1919. No, June 1919. Sorry, he was born June 1919. So he was like 4 months old when they won the 1918 World Series with Babe Ruth. He was 86 years old in 2004. He's 103 now. And he said to me a couple years ago, he said, I never thought I would live to remember a World Series. And now I've seen 4. And Chris Sale is his favorite player, by the way. He says Chris Sale is the greatest pitcher he's ever seen. And that says a lot, because when you're 103 years old, you've seen a lot of pitchers. And Chris Sale is his favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think Chris Sale's probably the most talented White Sox pitcher of all time. And I was actually going to bring him up next because I know we talked about him a little bit. What did you think of the Michael Kopech, Yohan Moncada trade back in the day? Because like it brought tears to my eyes, literally, because I didn't trust at that point the rebuild. Like I didn't know what we would have today would come to fruition because it had never been proven to me. 05 was kind of like an outlier. So many things came together. They signed AJ Pierzynski. Scott Podsednik came out of nowhere. Jermaine Dye came out of nowhere. He was good, but like signing him came out of nowhere. It wasn't like a bunch of homegrown talent, and I had never seen that with the White Sox before. So I would like to know from your point of view, like the Chris Sale trade. They needed ace. They went out and got David Price. Okay, they would like one more ace. Let's go get Chris Sale.
My whole thing with prospects, and especially for the Red Sox, because they struggle to develop prospects, especially pitchers, which is not just them. I mean, I cover the Phillies, for God's sakes, and they can't develop anything. My thing with prospects is if you're not going to be good at developing prospects, you have to be willing to deal prospects to get good major leaguers. Mm-hmm. And the other thing with prospects is I don't put too much stock into them because we've seen tons of, top products and first round picks never turn into anything. Kopech obviously is really talented. Now he and Chris Sale have both had Tommy John. So in that weird way, I kind of feel like it evens out a little bit. Mm-hmm. But again, my thing is like, you never know how a prospect is going to turn out. And Kopech missed significant time due to, so did Sale, but that was a major setback for the White Sox because he'd already made his debut when he got hurt. And I think ultimately I'm really happy with the trade because the Red Sox got a World Series out of it. They had, that's like the whole point. And, I criticized Dombrowski. Plenty of people criticized Dombrowski because he spends big. He depletes farm systems. But the point is that if you want to get to the postseason, like Dave Dombrowski is the guy who will do the things that other GMs and presidents of baseball ops aren't willing to do. Like he's that guy that like he'll break the eggs to make the omelet. And like that's the whole point of baseball. Like you're supposed to be building the best teams, the most competitive teams. You're supposed to have the most watchable product and ideally get to the World Series, win the World Series. And people are like, oh, well, with the Tigers, like, yeah, he ironically 2013 Tigers. But like, yeah, the Tigers didn't win the World Series, and that really sucks for them because I think the last time they won was like 1984 or 83.
That might be the best team to never win the World Series.
Right. Or like the Mariners when they won 116 regular season games in 2001, I want to say 2000. Mm-hmm. But he took the Tigers from a team that lost like over 100 games in his first season in like 2002 or 3, whatever it was. He took them to the pennant like 4 years later. Mm-hmm. The Phillies have been rebuilding for a decade. They haven't been They haven't been an above 500 team since 2011. Not even like a winning team. They literally haven't been. They've been under or at 500 exactly for a decade. And like, that's why they hired him. He's here to do the crazy stuff that Matt Klentak wasn't going to do.
Yeah.
And you can't just go and sign a Bryce Harper and that's it. Because this isn't basketball. Like, it's not like you can just have Michael Jordan and then like 4 scrubs, like, which isn't to say that his teammates were scrubs, because I know someone's going to be like, how dare you say that about like 20-year-old basketball? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in basketball, it's a lot easier to have one amazing player who can just like drive it to the hoop every single time. And like, if that, like in certain cases, that can be enough. You know, you can have LeBron and you can build around him, but look at the Angels. They have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, and they're not winning anything this year. Baseball's a team sport, and Dave Dombrowski's that guy who will build a team. You know, he came into the Red Sox, immediately gets Kimbrel. David Price, biggest pitching contract in history at that point. Chris Sale, Rick Porcello, he took all these guys that he had on the Tigers and was like, I know these guys are good. I know they can win, but we need more. We need more money. Boston has more money than Detroit. I can do it here. And he literally brought like JD Martinez, former Tiger.
Yep, and no one else wanted to sign him.
I know, crazy, right? But like that's Dave Dombrowski. Dave Dombrowski, like for all the crap, like he's not the guy to clean up the mess that he makes, but he's the guy that will get you the results. You know, he's the guy that makes the sausage. You don't want to know how the sausage gets made. So you don't want to get clean. He's not going to clean up after his mess, but he's the guy that's going to get you that trophy. And he did it. He did.
Mm-hmm. I love that analogy.
Oh my God. I have to send you guys this thing I wrote for Phillies on Fansided, because it was so funny. I basically just did like a career retrospective of Dave Dombrowski. And I was like, look, honestly, like he's the guy, if you have, like I said it, he is a person. If the saying you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet is a person, it would be Dave Dombrowski, because that's what he does. And other GMs don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. And that's fine. But you know what? That's why there are teams that never win anything. That's why there are teams that don't have a World Series trophy. Like, look at the Cleveland Indians, another great team, 2016 Indians that didn't win.
Broke my heart.
Cleveland Indians have not won a World Series since 1948. My grandmother was 14 years old the last time the Cleveland Indians won a World Series.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they're owned by the Dolans, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
You're not wrong. You mentioned your work with the Phillies. How did you get involved writing for the Phillies with Fansided?
So I'm also writing for the Red Sox, but the Phillies website didn't have an editor, and I have a lot of family members in that area, so they're one of the teams that I liked. And it just kind of fell that way, that they were the first team of multiple teams that I will be, covering. And, they're scrappy and interesting and infuriating. And, I'm a Red Sox fan, so I love infuriating teams. Like, that's kind of my thing. I love the pain and the frustration of a team that just like is both really good and really bad. That's kind of my vibe. So
describe Bryce Harper's season from your point of view. Because me and Joey love to talk about Bryce on this show, and the fact that all of his home runs are basically solo shots is infuriating to me. Like, get on base, Philly.
Oh, I know. He had 15? I wrote about it at the time. He had 15 solo bombs. He was one away from tying the MLB record from I don't remember who it was. Bryce Harper is definitely the Phillies' most valuable player. I don't know if he's the National League most valuable player, and I think that's an important distinction. Mm-hmm. He's having an amazing second half. But like I said, this isn't basketball. So Bryce Harper isn't enough. Mike Trout isn't enough. And again, because people are going to come for me for saying this, I'm not saying they're not good. They're incredible. I'm saying you need more. Bryce Harper's not pitching. Bryce Harper's not a closer. Bryce Harper's not a starter. He's an outfielder and a hitter, and he's incredible at that. He had an amazing outfield play last night.
Yep, I saw that. A good analogy might be the White Sox. Jose Abreu's been doing what he's doing this season and last season for 7 years. He's only had one season where he hasn't had 100 RBIs and 30 bombs. It was the down 2018 season when he had absolutely no protection. But every other year he's got 100 RBIs. They haven't won anything. They're going to the playoffs the second year in a row for the first time ever. So I don't know. I kind of feel the same way as you. It's not about one player. You need a whole team.
Yeah, and I mean, I wrote about Xander today for Both Sox Injection because, you know, he is having an incredible season once again. And it's not even his best season, but, you know, he's the only qualified player in Major League Baseball to hit over 300 and slug over 500 in each of the last 3 seasons. Out of every qualified player, he's the only one. Meanwhile, the Red Sox are like spiraling down the drain. But Xander Bogaerts hit a home run last night, and he's Xander Bogaerts. And, you know, I wrote about this, you know, I tweeted something about this morning because I love Xander Bogaerts. Tomorrow's the anniversary of his debut in 2013 when he was 20 years old. Like, it's crazy because he's so good, and he's only 28 years old. He already has two Silver Sluggers. Yeah, I think it's 3. He has 2 World Series rings. He's a 3-time All-Star. You know, he's incredible. And he's getting, you know, he's already, as a shortstop on the Red Sox, like in franchise history, he's already doing things that he's already surpassing, you know, legends on the Red Sox, like in the franchise numbers. And so I tweeted something about it. I said Xander Bogaerts is only 1 run away from tying Rico Petrocelli for 3rd on the all-time Red Sox shortstops list, and only 2 doubles away from tying Joe Cronin for 2nd. And he's, again, 28 years old. And somebody was like, individual stats while the team is completely collapsing, with a yawning emoji. And I was like, yeah, God forbid I talk about a great player because the team's playing like ass, which I have no control over. Like, God forbid I enjoy anything. I was like, by that logic, like, Ted Williams is trash because the Red Sox never won the World Series. Like, really? Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, Frank Thomas.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Think Carl Yastrzemski. Any great Red Sox player in the 86 years that they didn't win a World Series, doesn't matter, because M-Surfed 1 says that I shouldn't tweet about individual stats when the team isn't playing well. Xander Bogaerts is playing well. Xander Bogaerts hit a home run. The Red Sox lost. Xander Bogaerts hit a home run. Yeah, okay, cool. The Red Sox aren't good. Plenty of great teams, plenty of bad teams have great players, and plenty of great teams have bad players.
It's crazy. Like, you guys are so
Cedric
similar
Mullins.
to our fan bases are so similar, except recent championship pedigree is not in White Sox history. But thank you so much for coming on. We can't thank you.
Oh my God, it was my pleasure. I will come back anytime. Today is just a really hectic day for me, so I'm sorry.
Absolutely. No worries at all.
We could honestly, I feel like the 3 of us can go on for hours just talking about Red Sox and White Sox, because, you know,
I know.
Me and Vinny, we've always loved the Red Sox. Like, since the moment we started watching baseball, it's been the Red Sox and White Sox. So this honestly was awesome. We can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Is there anything you'd like to promote? Tell us where to find, like, your content and what you do.
Oh God. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Yeah. So I'm on Twitter at GFSTARR1, and you can check out That Ball's Out of Here, which is our Philly site for Fansided. It's just That Ball's Out of Here, Outa Here, OUTTAHERE. That Ball's Out of Here. It's in my bio. I also founded Girl at the Game, Sports by Women for Everyone, and our podcast is relaunching next week with a really amazing NFL guest, actually, not baseball. And thank you guys so much for having me on. This was such a treat. You guys are amazing.
Absolutely. We'll have you back before the playoffs and get a little
for
more,
sure.
Get a little
I think
more
we play each other soon, don't we?
Yes, and me and Joey will be there. The first game, Friday night. What day?
We should hang out.
September 10th. Yeah.
Let's hang out. I'll show you around Boston.
It's going to be in Chicago. We're going to the one in Chicago.
I forgot that they played here. I forgot that they played here during Marathon Monday.
You can bank on me and Joey being out there for the series next season. We'll come and hang out.
I'm holding you to it because we got some good Italian food, but I love the pizza in Chicago.
All right, for sure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Make sure you check out Gabrielle's work. She's amazing. She's, I'm a big fan. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
And that was Gabrielle Starr of Fansided.com covering the Phillies, the Red Sox, all of it. And that was a treat. She knows her stuff.
Yeah. And it's honestly music to my ears, getting, perspective. I love hearing perspective from a Red Sox fan point of view.
We don't get it as much as we'd like. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Everyone around us is like a White Sox or Cubs meatball. Like I want to hear like Red Sox fandom from someone other than me and you, because not many people around us follow them as much as we do.
That's another reason I love talking just Boston fans in general. I don't care what the sport is, because I have my point of view that's coming from an outsider. I consider myself an outsider. I'm one of the weirdest kids in the world, but hearing it from someone who lives there and is around that fan base, it's honestly like it's a different perspective, and I love it. She did an amazing job.
No doubt about it. Make sure you check out her work. The Phillies is interesting to me because, I have it written down. We didn't get into the Phillies as much as the Red Sox. Next time, maybe they'll make a run at the NL East, but 3.5 games out of first place. The Bravos are looking sweet. Ozzy Albies decided that he wants to hit a home run basically at least once a game. Speaking of home runs, Michael Kopech just gave up a 2-run bomb to Matt Olson.
Oh no.
And, I'm a big Michael Kopech guy. I think he's the best pitcher on the White Sox. But Matt Olson, if he gets a barrel on one of those 100-mile-an-hour pitches, he's going to put it on Pluto. I don't care who it's against. Not good, not good. 5-3 A's in the 7th.
Yeah. Joe wants to know, who do I root for when they play each other? So last time we were at the game when the Red Sox were in town, I did wear a Red Sox shirt. The White Sox were bad and the Red Sox needed the win, like bad. This was like, we saw Mookie Betts.
I'll give you a little context really quick before you finish your answer. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I can paint the picture for Joe. The Red Sox in 2018 were so good, right? They won 108 games. But they won 108 games because they started to dominate the second half of August and all of September. In mid-August, they were still like tongue-in-cheek or tooth and nail with the Yankees. And then they came here. I think they took 2 out of 3 from the White Sox. And then they went to New York and swept them and then went on a run from there. So at that point in time, yeah, the Red Sox ended up becoming like this all-time great team that season. But at that moment in August, they needed the win bad.
Yeah.
I rooted for the White Sox. I don't give a crap.
Yeah. I that game specifically, I remember I was rooting for the Red Sox really badly. Like it was I think it was impossible for the White Sox to really do much.
They won 72 games that season.
Was that the year? I'm pretty sure the White Sox were out of it at that point of the season.
I'm trying to think now because I brought up 2018 and it might have been 2019.
It was before I thought it was before they won the World Series.
Then it was 2018. The White Sox lost 100 games that season.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The win that meant nothing for the Chicago White Sox, and I get that. Yeah, it's other sports I wouldn't really be looking at that way, but I mean the White Sox and Red Sox are so, I want to say, equal for me that it makes it really hard this year. Coming up in September, the Red Sox, I honestly believe, have a chance to fix the hole that they've created for themselves. They've been on the worst stretch I've seen in a very long time, and the Yankees have been on the best stretch I've seen in a long time. Those two things happening at the same time just makes it look even worse than it actually is. I do believe they can get back on track. I think Chris Sale is going to help with that. It's not all on him. Gabriel nailed it spot on. You need your bats to better. Come September 10th, I honestly believe that game, that series in general, is going to be huge, huge for the Red Sox. It's not going to mean much to the Chicago White Sox, who literally might have a 15-game lead of first place by then. So am I going to wear Red Sox stuff? No. I don't know if I'm going to wear something White Sox. I honestly I just want to go see a good baseball game. Whatever happens, happens. Whoever I root for, it's not going to change the outcome. I just want to go see good baseball between literally my two favorite teams in the world. So that's where I stand on that. And I just really hope they don't play each other in the playoffs. I'm dreading it because we're talking about the regular season here. If it happens in the playoffs, it's a different story. I probably am going to want to see the White Sox do this. I really want to see a World Series for this team. So
put Santiago's comment on the screen. I root for the Chicago White Sox to beat everyone by 50. I don't care if I like the Red Sox on the side. Why can't I have other teams that I enjoy watching? Other teams, I have teams I enjoy watching in every sport that aren't my number one teams are the Chicago White Sox, the New Jersey Devils, Chicago Bears, and Tom Brady. Those are the teams I ride and die with, and Tom Brady. No matter what, root for them. Then there is the teams that I enjoy watching: the Seattle Seahawks, the New England Patriots, the Boston Red Sox. Lately, I've been enjoying watching the Pittsburgh Penguins because they have Crosby and Malkin. But I mean, I don't know. I definitely have the teams that I just love. And, having someone like Gabrielle on to talk about the Red Sox, might make it seem like I'm obsessed with the Red Sox just because I do enjoy them and Chris Sale and all that. But I don't know. I thought the interview was great.
It was. And, I guess my answer to Santiago is,
You only like that in baseball.
I'm not even really like that. It's not like I'm over here. Like, just because I'm a fan of a league and I like watching other teams, I like wearing a Dodgers hat. I like, you name a team and I'll wear that hat. I love it. To me, when I see someone on the street wearing a hat, it doesn't necessarily think like, oh, he must be a fan of that team. And then if the next day I see a different team, oh, he's not really a fan of anything. It just kind of tells me he's a fan of the league and he just likes the game. And that's kind of where I'm at with a lot of sports. Like, we counted, I have like close to 100 different hats. I would wear all of them. I have a Tampa Bay Lightning hat. It's not necessarily I'm swinging. I have my number one teams, as you, a consistent listener should know. It's the Chicago White Sox and the Boston teams. There's nothing changing ever. And Joe nailed it. I just like socks.
I love socks, like real socks. Fun fact about Vinny, I'm never wearing the same socks.
Yeah, that's a fun, I guess you can say fun fact. But
yeah. Is there an issue with my microphone?
I don't know. We'll definitely mess with that. There's like a little staticky, but I think it's all good for the most part. Sweaty socks.
White Sox, let's run through the two Chicago teams really quick to close out the show. Yankees and A series. The Yankee series, the Field of Dreams game, we went into that at great length with ourselves and with Gabrielle. But the rest of the two games didn't necessarily go their way. They had a chance to walk off both, and they didn't get the big hit in those series. The Yankees are good. They're hot. You brought them up when talking about the Red Sox. I think they're the hottest team since the All-Star break, I want to say, in terms of record.
The Braves.
The Braves have a better record since the All-Star break. Go Bravos. Shout out to my friends.
I think that's an educated guess.
They're up there.
They're 9-1 in their last 10. I know that. So, I mean,
I've watched every one of their games against the Fish this week. They've been on one of my TVs every single day. I've been watching the Braves.
Yeah.
We have family in Atlanta.
The Yankees are white hot, and it sucks. Mike Stanton I think he just hit a bomb yesterday. But he kind of sucked.
Base hit too.
Yeah. He struck out a lot against the White Sox. I haven't seen every Yankees game. I'm not going to sit here and act like I sit there and watch all 9 innings every game. He had the home run in the Iowa game, but I mean, this dude is a strikeout machine. I love seeing it. I was at the game. I tweeted it. I got so happy every time he struck out.
The White Sox are a strikeout machine team, though. A lot of people, I don't think they realize how many strikeouts the White Sox actually induce. I'm pretty sure Dylan Cease, Lucas Giolito, and Carlos Rodon. It was either Carlos Rodon or Lancelin. All three of them are in the top 5 in strikeouts. And like Giolito's having this bad year, even though his ERA is only in the 3s. And he's like top 5 in strikeouts. That could have a lot to do with Mike Stanton and his, strikeout predicament.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about the Yankees, about what's going on right now with the Oakland series. I mean, regardless of what happens in the game on right now, you gotta like the way they've looked for the most part against a pretty good Oakland team who's kind of chasing the Astros. So I mean, regardless of what happens today, I'm not really mad about the way the White Sox have been playing lately. I think especially the 9-0 game. Yeah, their ace Chris Bassett took an ugly ball to the face, and that kind of changed that game a little bit. But I mean, the Sox bats were there, so.
And I would like to send out publicly my deepest thoughts and prayers to Chris Bassett, former White Sox. Not a lot of people realize that he was sent to Oakland with Marcus Semien, an MVP caliber player, for Jeff Samardzija. People talk about the Fernando Tatis Jr. trade. That trade's right there. And I know they made up for it. They were trying to win at the time. They wanted Samardzija. They wanted Shields. I get it. Now they made up for it with the Eatons and the Jimenez, stuff like that. So I'm not like mad about it anymore. But if Chris Bassett was in the White Sox organization, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah. Luckily, we got news yesterday that he's recovering. He's fine. He's not in the hospital anymore. I don't believe.
You can read a full description on Chris Bassett news on SouthsideShowdown.com, where I went into full detail on everything that's going on with him. So make sure you check that out.
Yeah. Another guy I want to bring up real quick before we move on from the White Sox. My guy, number 88, Luis Robert, looks fucking amazing, and I'm so happy to see it.
Him and Jimenez are game-changing hitters, and I actually have this written down. They have been missing all season until about 2 weeks ago, and they're a big part in this game right now. They're losing, but they're a big part in not being killed and having a chance to win still. They were the direct reason they won yesterday in terms of offense. Obviously, pitching has to line up, but in terms of offense, they are the direct reason they won. They got all 3 runs scored, or all 3 RBIs, I guess I should say. Moncada scored 2 of the 3 himself. But I mean, these two, it's hard to win, to be in first place with 2 consequential players like that missing, and that's what they did. Yeah. And so it's really good to see. I'm so happy that they're back. Reynaldo Lopez has been sweet.
Yeah.
And I want to know if you have any thoughts about him coming back and not being what he was the last 2 years.
Did he started yesterday, correct? Or was it the day before?
The day before.
It was the day before, the 9-0 game he started against. Yeah. And honestly, it looked good. This A's team is good. They can hit the ball. So I like what I see.
Absolutely. Joe Mandel says Moncada has awakened. Yeah, I agree. I was never really worried about Moncada. His defense is so elite that you deal with a slump every now and then because you're going to get slumps from Moncada. When Gabrielle was talking about Bogarts, I get major Moncada vibes from Bogarts. I think Bogarts might be a little better of a hitter, but when they're both going, and they kind of go in the same way. They have the same type of personality. Bogarts has a little more power. I don't know. I think it's good stuff. I wanted to talk about Lancelin's ejection really quick.
Yeah.
Do you think it's funny?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely hilarious.
So do I. I love every second of it. I like when guys have F you attitudes and don't tell me what to do, and you diss me and I'll diss you right back. Lancelin, for those who don't know, yesterday was getting his, I think it's every 2 innings for a starter, the sticky substance check. And they come back from the commercial break, and it's like Tony La Russa's out there arguing with the umpire. I'm like, well, no, here comes Lancelin. Did he just get ejected for sticky substance? That would be a bad look if the ERA leader of the American League is the second guy to get thrown out for sticky stuff. No, it was actually because he hurt the umpire's feelings. You know, these soft umpires that we have today. He left the glove and the hat on the railing because he wanted to go in and speak with the trainer about something before going out for the 5th. So he was in a rush. And the umpire wanted his belt, so he tossed it to him over the ledge. And the umpire's little feelings got hurt, and he went and threw him out of the ballgame and kept him from coming out of the 5th, which he was going to come out for. And I don't know. I think it's hilarious. I'm happy the White Sox ended up winning because I would have been livid. Had a somewhat cold Garrett Crochet came in. Now, he got to warm up a little bit, but it's not like the true warming up of a bullpen, like when it was kind of on the fly. And Garrett Crochet's sweet. He's one of the best pitchers in the bullpen, as the stats show. But, I mean, I was annoyed at first when it first happened. Then when they ended up winning and the quotes came out, I thought it was funny.
Yeah. I'd be really pissed, especially for Lynn, because it made it impossible for him to get credit for the win.
Yes.
Which, you don't know the details of some of these guys' contracts. What if he's got like a bonus, like a certain win? If he hits a certain number of wins, he gets a bonus. And what if like he's short, all because an umpire has sensitive feelings?
I was mad, but cooler heads always prevail. You get a day to think about it. I think it was a blessing in disguise. Because go ahead.
Well, I didn't know that about the draft. I didn't even think about that either. Like if you bet on him, if you bet on him to get the win, and then he gets ejected after 4, like that sucks.
That's a bad beat.
Yeah, that's some Joey Parisi luck right there.
Yeah, we've all had that Joey Parisi luck. I was going to say, I do think it's a little bit of a blessing in disguise. He didn't have his best game. He only gave up 1 run. You know you're elite when you go 4 innings only giving up 1 run. And I'm sitting here saying it wasn't your best game. It wasn't his best game because his command was a little off in 2 of the 4 innings. And he loaded the bases with no outs and got out of it. 2 strikeouts and a pop-up. Like, whoa. Yeah. So you don't know what would have happened had he came out in the 5th. He did give up a solo shot in the 4th. With it's so weird. The inning he was fine. He gives up a solo shot. The inning with traffic on the base pads, it ends up being okay. But after this game against the A's, they got the Rays and the Jays, 3 series that rhyme. We don't have to go full depth preview because we got to talk about the Cubs still. But I mean, looking forward to those 2 series against 2 really good teams, 2 really hot teams.
Another chance to help. We kind of a Red Sox heavy podcast today, but this is another chance to help them out. If they can figure it out and take some wins away from the Rays, then that's good news. They weren't able to do it against the Yankees, so I mean, another shot here.
It bugs me that it's also helping the Yankees.
Yeah, exactly. The Yankees need to really cool the fuck down out there. I'm starting to really get mad. I'm gonna write a letter to Mike Stanton specifically. Okay.
One of the guys in my Devils group chat, I have a Devils group chat for the people I work with at Pucks and Pitchforks, and one of them put in the chat yesterday, "Thank you, White Sox," when they hung on and won. I was like, don't thank me. I don't want to help you.
Yeah.
I want you out.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
I would enjoy a likable Yankee team. Their fan base is it's so cubby sometimes. And speaking of the Cubs, they just had a 12-game losing streak snapped 2 days ago, and now they've won 2 in a row, so they're hot.
They're back. They're all the way back.
So back. They're so back. What are your thoughts on losing 12 straight and then coming back to beat a pretty good Reds team? The Reds are only a game and a half behind the Padres. No one wants to talk about it because everyone loves the Padres, except me. I hope the Reds take that spot from the Padres and they miss the playoffs hilariously. But the Cubs, they beat them.
Yeah, they especially was it yesterday's game? They put up a lot of runs. I think they put up like 7. So I mean, the bats were going. There's really not much. There's really no formula. There's no telling if that's a good sign or are they just going to start another 12-game winning streak. Either wouldn't surprise me. It would actually surprise me if they put a winning record together in the next 10 games or so. But I don't know. I think they personally probably caught the Reds in a bad little slump here. We'll see how they do against KC coming up. But I don't know. I wouldn't look much into it. They're definitely not like. It's something to build off of. It's good for these young guys, but some of their pitching, man, is just so bad.
If they don't get a good Kyle Hendricks performance, there's a chance they lose by 8.
Yeah, exactly.
And Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, all gone. Wilson Contreras on the IL. Jason Hayward, they're making him play. But I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough stretch. If I was a Cubs fan, I'd root for them to lose as much as possible down the stretch. Because you see what getting consequential players like Andrew Vaughn and Nick Madrigal could turn into. I could even use the same example for the Cubs. They got Chris Bryant in their worst season of the rebuild, just like the White Sox got Andrew Vaughn in the worst season of their rebuild. And, sometimes these players pay off for you. So,
yeah. The good news about all this is you can go see a game at Wrigley Field for relatively cheap. And whether you hate him or not, that field is awesome. I'll say it. I'm not a huge fan of the concessions or anything, but that's just because I'm spoiled with guaranteed rate field. I like going to guaranteed rate field and stuffing my face with delicious food.
Do you actually like guaranteed rate field more than Wrigley?
Yeah, I do. I actually do, but that doesn't take away. I actually kind of really like Wrigley Field. I kind of like the outside area, the bars, inside that the whole ramp system that they got, just makes me feel like you can tell it's old, and I like that about it. And the field is beautiful. I'm going to take advantage probably of these cheap tickets. I'm looking hopefully against the Rockies upcoming next week early. I would love to go see a cheap game out there. So stay tuned for that. I want to see some baseball there. And it kind of lit a fire going to see that concert there this past weekend that I want to see a baseball game here. Last time I did, I was, not as invested as I am now. So I'm down for that.
Yeah, for sure. I like Wrigley optically, physically, the old school sense of baseball. I appreciate history and baseball, sports, and all of, America. But the actual experience isn't the best. The food isn't that good. There's nothing outside of the game. Like, I imagine being like, if I took a 10-year-old to guaranteed rate field and, did everything that guaranteed rate field offers, have them throw a pitch, hit the kids zone, race against the Tim Anderson cutout before the game starts. Then the interactive things on the scoreboard that go on, the Italian beef races and the ball in the hat.
Shout out cheesy beef. Never.
Shout out sweet and spicy beef.
Never not bet cheesy beef with a Bona beef race on the
Sweet and spicy beef. You're out of your mind. I kind of wish they would combine those because that's how I like to eat it. But, the kids zone race against the Tim Anderson cutout. If you're an older fellow, you can enjoy the craft cave. And then you took them to Wrigley a week later, they'd be bored.
Okay, so, I get that point. That's coming from a very, set up. You're looking for an outcome there with that scenario.
No, you're right. And I just said everything I like about Wrigley. It's a classic baseball stadium. Everything I'm saying about Wrigley, I would probably say about Fenway Park. And I like the Red Sox a lot.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I just hope you're not disappointed when you go to Fenway because it's.
I'm not gonna be because I'm expecting Wrigley Field 2.0.
It's very similar. Like some seats in Wrigley, like you're sitting there, and then you got like 100 feet of an overhang above you. It's just like that at Fenway.
Yeah.
And
so, I'm not going to be disappointed because I know what to expect. It's just like Wrigley in terms of it's planted in the middle of a town, like with the streets blocked off and all. Like I'm looking forward to it. I'm not dissing Wrigley at all. I just think there's more to do to enjoy your experience at the other park.
Yeah,
but Wrigleyville is so fun. Old Crow, great bar.
Yeah. All I got to say though is Cub fans, take advantage of the cheap tickets. Go, like, who cares if they lose and get shit on and give up 20 runs?
Support the rebuild.
Yeah, exactly.
You saw how rewarding it felt in 2016. You see what White Sox fans are experiencing right now. I went to a game in 2019 where Michael Fulmer gave up, or no, it was Carson Fulmer. Michael Fulmer played for the Tigers. Carson Fulmer, the bust of a pick that he was, give up 10 runs to I want to say it was the Twins. And, you just sit through games like that, but you watch guys like Eloy develop. You watch guys like Moncada develop. And you just saw the same thing. You saw Chris develop. You saw Javi develop. It's just fun, man. Go to the ballpark, Sox and Cubs.
Yep. And enjoy baseball. That's the main thing. You don't want to watch the Cubs? I'm going to go. I want to see the Rockies. So that's what I really want to go next week. If I don't make it, I don't make it. But I do. Well, I can say confidently before season's end, I will see a game there.
Yeah, I want to ask you something about the Rockies in a second, but before, let's wrap up the Cubs. Jake Arrieta, caught, now on the Padres, still sucks. Any thoughts on him?
About Arrieta?
Yeah, he went to the Padres, still suck.
Yeah, no. It was. I saw a lot of stuff like it was easier to let him go this time.
It was easier to let him go this time.
Yeah.
And he's been a nuisance with the whole vaccine thing and stuff. He's been a detriment to the team both on and off the field.
Yeah, we'll see how the rest of his career goes, but I don't know. I don't think there's much left there.
Yeah, me either. And is there anything you're looking for down the stretch?
A week from today, we'll be previewing another crosstown matchup, this time at your very own guaranteed rate field. So we're looking forward to that. Hopefully, I would say hopefully it's a little more, competitive than last time, but I'd be lying. I kind of just hope it's the same outcome. So,
yeah, no, I hope they win every game by 50. But I want really quick. You brought up that the Cubs are playing the Rockies, and I'm looking here. The Rockies are one of the worst teams in baseball. They're 55-66.
Yeah, so it might be a good team.
They're 41-21 at home, and 14-45 on the road. Is Coors Field like? I always thought it was kind of like overblown, like, oh, the Coors effect. Arenado hits dongs at Coors Field. His road and home split. Like, maybe I don't know anything about physics because I was too busy during all the science and math classes in high school worrying about my writing. Like, how is that possible?
Well, I honestly forget what I was listening to, and it's kind of making me mad. But it was talking about players from Colorado, and I think it was in relation to the White Sox getting Trevor Story, And someone made a point like Rockies players, they only play good in Colorado because they're used to it, and apparently it makes that much of a difference, especially like outdoor. I don't know. I would love to go to Colorado and see. And honestly, like what you just said about the record kind of proves that to be true. So I would not be surprised one bit.
Guaranteed Rate Field is a hitter's park.
Mm-hmm.
That's not that much of a hitter's park. I mean, I'm saying not as much as Colorado. Like, how are you 20 games over 500 at home and 11 games under 500 in general?
Do you think anything has to do with not necessarily the ball flying? Because, I mean,
there's got to be some sort of cardiovascular advantage.
That's what I was going to say. It's not so much with the ball flying because both teams have that advantage. There should be no advantage there.
Isn't Tom Brady under 500 in Denver in his career too?
I want to say I honestly believe I always thought it was bullshit. I honestly think the conditioning of some of the players who live in are used and acclimated to the Colorado elevation. I honestly think it makes a huge difference, more than people say. So I guess I'll never know. I'm not an athlete in Colorado, but it definitely seems in every sport it's brought up and it makes a difference. So.
And like I brought up with Tom Brady, like being under 500, I think, or close to 500 in Denver, it always kind of sounded like BS to me because like most of Tom Brady's career, the Broncos were good. Peyton Manning, before him, they were a good team that had like a mediocre quarterback, but they were still a good team always. Kyle Orton, I remember when Jay Cutler was there. Like the Broncos have just always been like one of those top 10 organizations. And, I thought that had a little bit to do with it. Now I'm like, maybe Tom just struggles because everyone struggles there. And the reason this came to my attention was because of Jeff Passan writing an article about how there's 7.5 teams in the MLB that are bad, like really bad. And the other 23.5 teams can win most games on any given night. And they listed the 7.5 teams. Like, what the hell does half a team mean? Oh, that's what it means. The Rockies. So it's like, I couldn't believe it when I saw it.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the Chicago Cubs playing them at home early next week, I wouldn't put much stock into if they put another good series together against Kansas City. And then you just said how bad Colorado is on the road. I kind of think it's going to look better than it is for the Cubs in the next coming week or so. It's going to lead in for a good story going into that crosstown game, probably.
Yep, absolutely.
The Cubs are kind of hot. I mean, no, they just played Kansas City and Colorado at home.
And maybe the White Sox will be like muddling a 500 record after playing the Jays and Rays, like, two hard series. Maybe the Cubs will come in feeling a little better than the White Sox. That's certainly possible because
so that'll add feel to that crosstown classic for sure.
Would you sign up for 3-3 against the Jays and Rays?
I would like to see.
I know you'd like to see 6-0, 5-1, or 4-2.
No,
would you sign up
4-2?
Okay,
4-2. It's got to happen. I mean, you don't want to start putting together 2 men. Like they had a good series against the A's. I'll consider that a great series actually. I did not like the whole gist of the Yankees series. I didn't, and I know the Yankees are hot, but even in the Field of Dreams game, like. Liam blew that one, which we didn't even talk about Liam. He put a great outing. Was it against the A's?
Yeah.
When he came in and he was
something was wrong. Something was wrong with the slider against the Yankees. His wife told him that he was tipping his pitch. And like if Liam Hendriks' wife from the stands knows, and it's not because it's his wife, it's just because it's a human being in the stands. If someone in the stands can pick up a tipped pitch, what can a professional baseball hitter do?
Yeah.
And his career numbers against the Yankees are bad, really bad.
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting topic. It's an interesting topic to see where they go with Craig and Liam. Dirty
Craig's grandfather passed away, and that's why he wasn't available yesterday, and Hendricks came in to get 5 outs instead of his typical 3. And Kimbrel's back today with the White Sox. He will get to pitch if there's a save opportunity. Moncada's up with a runner on first, no outs in the 8th. He's facing against former Cub Andrew Chafin, actually, which is kind of funny. He's perfect for that A's uniform. But I don't know. This was a great show. I enjoyed talking White Sox and Cubs. Gabrielle did a phenomenal job talking Red Sox and Phillies. There anything left before we get on out of here? It was a longer than average show.
Yeah, just like you said, Gabrielle Starr, follow her on Twitter. It was a pleasure having her and talking, one of my favorite teams, the Boston Red Sox, with her. We didn't get as much into the Phillies as we probably would have liked to, but I mean, that was a good extended conversation, and I'm sure we'll have her back. So thank you again to her for coming on.
Absolutely. And, make sure you're watching baseball this weekend. Got the pennant races are really heating up. Miguel Cabrera's 1 home run away from 500. Make sure you tune into that. Shohei Ohtani's 8-1 with a 2-point-something ERA and leads the league with 41 home runs. He had another one today. There's so many cool things going on right now. So make sure you check it out. Follow at Joey Parisi on Twitter, at Vinny Parisi on Twitter, at the Barroom Network. Make sure you shop at deepdishtees.com for sweet hats like this. And we'll see you on Monday for South Burbs Hitman. Make sure you catch all the shows over the weekend, and we will see you on Crosstown Crosstalk next week.